Hello everybody, this is Kimberly. Welcome to my studio. Thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to talk with you about my tips for saving time and saving money by keeping your tools and supplies around longer. Increasing their longevity is my point here. So I will begin. But real quick, I just want to mention the giveaway that's going on right now. I'm giving away a book on journaling that I contributed to and a trifold that I made in the premiere of this channel a week or two ago. So if you would like to enter, and I hope you will, please go to my page, YouTube page after this video and click on the one that shows this giveaway sign, and it's a brief video but it'll tell you what you get and how to enter. Alright, thanks. Alright, so this is just a collage. I thought it was something you might enjoy seeing, but what's inside is what I'm going to share with you later. So we'll begin with number one. Number one is a metal box. It locks over here. Not really locks, it just has one of those, latches so you can pick it up. And I like to craft in a few different places in my house. And I was wasting so much time and energy looking for this, looking for that, looking for this, looking for that, never knowing, where I had left it behind. So I got the idea. First I used a basket, but then I would end up piling other things on the basket and I would forget. I wouldn't even be able to see the basket, and then it wasn't very easy to find the supplies that I was looking for. So my husband was cleaning out the garage and I saw this wonderful metal box as part of his office supplies, and he said I could have it. So I love it, and it is the handiest thing ever. And I keep in here, I keep an extra pair of glasses, which are very scratched up, so they can't really get any worse, but when you're in a pinch. And I keep the things I use most often, like these little small paper clips and the larger paper clips. I keep my art glitter glue and my glue sticks. I keep a ruler. If I'm working on a project with washi at the time, or any other tape or any other glue or gel medium, I put that in there. I have my inks and my dauber. I have my pokey tool, and I use this as other people use a bone folder. It covers a small area, and I like that better. These clips for holding things together when I'm binding or holding them together to sew or whatever the case may be. Pencil and pen. This is another type of dauber I like to use. And a brush for gel medium, and then a dental tool. The dental tool is a good pokey tool as well. So I'm sure you have your supplies that you always need and always use. And my scissors, which I forgot to put back. And you probably, can have your, we all have more than one glue. We all have more than one scissors probably, and things like that. So it's possible if you only have two stations to work from that you wouldn't necessarily want to do this. I don't use it in this primary stand-up workstation that I'm at here, but I use it otherwise, and it has really been a good time saver and frustration saver for me. The second one is about art glitter glue. Let me see. Okay, so I buy large bottles of art glitter glue to refill the smaller bottles, even larger, smaller bottles. I still buy a larger refill bottle, and even larger than this sometimes. So a while ago, not, just maybe a month or so ago, I ended up filling my art glitter glue bottles with this one that I had ordered in the mail. And as I would use it, I was finding that it wasn't sticking very well. It was really hardly sticking at all. So I thought, maybe it was the weather changing. Maybe it was me. I wasn't putting enough on. So I went through all the possibilities, and still it just wasn't sticking. So I went back to the original bottle, and I tried using it to glue items, and sure enough, it glued just fine. So I thought, well, what's happened here? Well, partly what's happened here is it's been sitting on my shelf for a really long time, and then I had to dip it like this to pour it out, and then what went in here would be the very top of what was in the bottle. So I thought, maybe it needs to be shaken up before I actually refill. So I poured all the bottles I filled back into the refill bottle, shook it up, for a little while, and then I poured it back in, and I used it, and it worked like a charm. So I recommend whatever glue you use, shake it up if it's your refill bottle and it's been sitting around for a while. Or if you took a break from crafting, just shake it up. The third thing is washi. My washi tapes, and I buy all types. I buy tons of Tim Holtz tapes, but I also buy other brands like Dina Waitley, and I buy brands from Michaels and Hobby Lobby. They're $1, something like that. And all of my washi tapes last a really years, because I don't use a lot. They last years. And I hear people say all the time that their washi tape isn't sticky. My washi tape is super sticky. I hardly ever put glue on it. I might put glue under it when it's going to be in the middle of a folded sheet or on the outside of a folded sheet. I'll put glue on that because it's going to get so much movement, just to be sure. But it's really sticky. So I started thinking about, what is it I'm doing that's making that possible, so I could share it with you. And I keep my washi in a plastic open container, and then that container goes inside of my craft cabinet. I don't leave it out in the sun. I don't leave it out in the heat. I have skylights all around my studio. I'm on the second floor. Heat rises. I'm in Southern California. So there is a lot of potential for things to dry out here, and my washi doesn't dry out. So I think I'm recommending that if you keep your washi in a closed, dark place, it could last longer. I know a lot of you like looking at it and it's out and all pretty, but I think that's really the death of the washi. I think the stick just wears away. So if you care, if you want it to just work as it's supposed to and truly stick, try hiding it. All right, number 4. This has to do with gel medium bottles. I don't know about you, but my gel medium bottles, I could never get the tops off. They were just stuck on, no matter what I did, no matter how I tried to clean them off before I'd put the jar cover on after using them, they would be completely stuck the next time I went to use them. And I don't use them very often, so they had a lot of time to build up and become, unusable. So I use Cut-Rite Reynolds paper. It probably doesn't matter which wax paper, but it does have to be wax, so it wouldn't be parchment paper. I don't know if that would work or not, but wax paper is what I think you really are going to find out works well. And I put it under my jars. I leave it under the cap, and they all are easily screwed off every single time. And any wax or any gel medium that builds up in here because I've used it and put the brush on it, it ends up coming out in the wax paper itself. You can kind of see that brown in there. That's actually some that was left on the top. And so, if it was really thick, then you'd want to throw it away. But you can reuse it like that because the wax paper is just, the wax on it just prevents it from sticking. This is one that I opted to toss out because it started to get the rips in it. So when the rips are in it, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable to glue coming through the hole. So you want to throw that away. But when it's still all in one piece, you can just use it until it isn't. Now I use wax paper on my desktop, on my craft top, all the time. I put a big sheet out, and I prefer it to anything else. I really like it a lot. I have a bunch of glass, the Tim Holtz glass ones, and all kinds of quilter ones, and I just find that putting the wax paper on, gave me what it was I wanted. I like having the quilter one because I use my rotary cutter to do a lot of the cutting, so it's handy. And I can just scoot the wax paper over, and then I have the room to cut. So I just cut into that and place it on my jar, and there you go. So it's not like I have to pull this thing out very often. So it also works really well to use wax paper on your glue bottles, especially your storage glue bottles. But you can also use it on your everyday glue bottle. You just can't leave it on, right? So I want to show you. This is what I was able to pull out of this cap. Do you see all that brown on there? See all that brown that's showing up over there? And there was a bunch of wet glue that was in the middle. This is my second take on this for you, so I already kind of cleaned it with this example that you're not going to see. That's why I'm not doing it. But here's the trick, and you can also you can just see it completely wears away the wax paper, which is okay, and it just continues to get more and more of the glue that is going to make it so difficult for you to get the cap off when you want to. And it does a pretty good job of cleaning it out. So I'm going to put another piece on there. But what I want to show you is how you can use it to clean, and also clean your gel medium jars, because you might have some gel medium jars that are already stuck, and you're thinking, well, that's a great idea after they're clean, but how do I clean them? So you actually clean them in the same way. So you want to put this is super clean. Let's try to get something a little less clean here for you. Oh, that's pretty clean too. But if you have a bunch of glue up here and a bunch of glue in here, this method is going to really help. So you put it on, you make sure it's just big enough to cover all the area that has the ridges for screwing on your top. And then what you're going to do is you're going to screw the top on really tight, and then you're going to unscrew it, and then you're going to screw it on tight again, unscrew it, and depending on how dirty it is, do that a few more times. And the friction is helping that stuff loosen up. And then it's connecting to the wax paper so you can get it right off. And lo and behold, you end up having a totally clean top, and then junk gets in there and you're able to toss it out. So once you've done that, you no longer have to worry. Your jar will stay completely clean after you get that initial cleaning done. I just love this trick. I really found it difficult to work with gel medium bottles for a long time. So there you go. All right. Number 6. All right. If you're making a collage, or you're making a journal page that really matters to you, or a cover, or a spread, something flat that you really want to have turn out beautifully, then it's very, very helpful if you take a picture far above it. If you're close to it, then it's no different than looking at it with your eyes. But if you do it up high, the picture you get will give you a perspective that is so helpful. It's a completely different perspective. It would be like hanging it on the wall and walking back from the wall. That's what they used to do before, cameras were so easy. So that would be something that you could do too if you don't have a camera on your phone, is just pin it up on the wall and walk back and look at it. But if you take a picture, you can make it bigger and smaller, so it still is handier to use that. And what you're looking for is balance of color, balance of items, white space versus dark space. if you want symmetry, if you don't want symmetry. You can see so much in a picture that's taken from a distance. It looks like a completely different page or a completely different collage than when you're looking at it. And plus, you know, when we're focusing on something while we make it, we get very lost in the details of it. So the picture helps you really broaden your view. And I don't glue things down until almost the end of making something. So, you know, if you glue everything down as you go, then this is not going to be very helpful unless you want to glue other things on top, which is always an option, of course. So try it and see if it doesn't work well for you. And then we have number 7. Number 7 is using this tin. So I have a ton of the, well, I don't have nearly as many as many of you do, I'm sure. But these little Tim Holtz mini pads, right? I like, you know, trying out the different colors, and then, you know, they're just so fun. But when I first started junk journaling, and I was buying the distress colors, you know, vintage photo, walnut, stain, the very light one that came with them all, and the tea dye, they got dry so fast. They dried out really, really fast. And I tried re-inking them, and nothing worked. I went through a few that just didn't last any time at all. And I kept thinking it was his product, but I don't know. My guess is no. So I tried to figure out, you know, why was that happening? And I decided again that it was the fact that I was keeping them in a, you know, open space. A lot of times I'd just keep them on my desk. I wouldn't keep the top off, so I was thinking keeping the top on was enough, but I don't think so. And so I put them in this tin, so it's pretty airtight. I think that's important. And then I keep it down low to the ground where it's cooler, and I keep it hidden away in a tiered shelf unit. So I only pull it out when I'm going to use it. And so give that a try and see if your inks last a little longer. The bigger ones I keep in the packaging until I actually use them, and I keep them in a space there, which is the same cabinet where I keep my washies. So I have a nice closed cabinet up for these kinds of things that I feel need to be protected. The other thing about these small ink pads that you may not know or might not have considered, especially if you're new to junk journaling, is that the Dauber's sponges fit in the bottom of the container. These are stackable, and I think people realize that, but I don't know if they realize that the Daubers can be stored in there, and they can still be stacked, I think. Yeah, they could be, but that's not my thing. So I don't put these on a dauber when I use them. That's the tip. And why is that? Well, if I'm going to use these colors, then I'm probably going to be inking or stamping a small area, or a small stamp, or one stamp that's large, and nothing big, unlike these guys, which are, more involved. So I just use it as it is, and I hold on to it on one side, and I press my finger on this side, and I go like this, and I put it down on the paper, or on the stamp, whichever it is I'm doing, and that's it. I do not put it on a dauber. And I don't have a dauber for each and every color. I know I used to see people do that, and I thought, how do you store all that? It's just so repetitive. So I think these daubers are great. I have a different dauber for each one. I like that idea. But that said, I use this dauber on I have 3 handle ones, and they were marked brown and gray and something else, but I've ended up using the same dauber for all of them. But I don't use my brown dauber for colors. So there you go. All right, that's number 7, but I have a bonus for you. So the bonus has to do with getting the most out of your printables. I love printables. I have a lot of printables. I print out often. And, not every printable is a winner. So I have my stack of printables that for whatever reason I just may never use. You may have some as well. So I hate that it's paper that I would be tossing away. And so I keep them and I use them in 4 different ways that I thought I would share with you. First of all, it might be that a printable I can cut into usable pieces to make journal cards or to make pockets. There might be a part of it I really like, but I don't like the rest of it, or a part of it that printed well and the rest of it didn't, or an area of color that's appealing and useful and this color isn't. So I just go to my big cutter and I just cut them down into usable pieces. It works. Also, that way, when they're in usable pieces, they can become backs to pockets and other items, maybe tags. And then if the back of your printable is plain, then you can print on that side a new print through your printer, and then you just put the printable side that you don't like against the back, or you put something against the printable side you don't like. So for example, if you're making tags, if you're printing out tags and then you're going to cut them out, but you have to back them with something, you can back them with a nice piece of paper, and that printable that you don't want to have show won't. You can also use printables that you won't be using as practice sheets. So you can practice ink colors, calligraphy, you can practice a paint color or watercolor. You can use it for stamping, stamping off, or just seeing if the stamp has enough ink on it. And sometimes, completely unexpected, the resulting piece of paper will become attractive again, and a small area ends up being used in a journal, because with whatever it is that's on it, it works for something. So it's kind of fun. And then the last bonus tip is to use your printable as a practice printable to when the orientation is critical. So if you're printing on both sides and you have to make sure that the orientation is right, you will have to do a trial or possibly make a mistake. So I take the one that I don't like and I mark, this is the lower left corner, upper right corner, I mark it on the sides. And then I put it through in the way I think it's going to work with the print that I want to come out. And or I print the one that I want to print in the back of, I print it out and I see how it's going to fall. And so you might even be printing completely on top of a printable. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a plain sheet is what I'm trying to say, because it's about the orientation. So as long as you write in the margins or mark it somehow what the orientation was going in, then it can become a sheet that when you do throw it away, you got a lot of use out of it. One thing that I've noticed, and I've started to notice it recently, so I don't even know if I can say that this is globally true, but it seems to me, the way that I look at what's on the screen before I print something out is that it's either going to fall to the left and go into my printer, or to the right and go into my printer, or it's going to fall to the left and go on my printer. And thinking about which way it's going to fall, and I know that's ridiculous, this is all virtual, but that's the way I think about it. Which way it's going to fall determines which way I put my paper in when the orientation matters. So it seems to me, and I'd love to hear from any of you that has any input on this, thoughts or knows, for example. It seems that papers I buy that aren't in the U.S., like predominantly that would be England, and I know I buy from Australia, but I'm really not sure that this applies to Australia, but England, they seem to have their paper fall to the left, have that papers go this way before it comes out. And people in the U.S. tend to have their paper fall to the right before it comes out. I hope this is making sense to you. If it isn't, then don't even worry about it. But I'm noticing. So if I remember, if I'm with a U.S. seller, I will take that into account. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Some printable makers are willy-nilly, and some of their papers will fall this way and some will fall that way when they get printed out. So it isn't 100% guaranteed by any means. I kind of wish there was more of a regular thing that we could count on. I think that would be helpful in, not having so many throwaways when we're trying to get, all the writing to go in the right direction. So I'm just putting that out there as a possibility. Or maybe there's something I don't know that you can tell me that would help me with this. I have asked some people, and it seems to kind of be an issue that comes up for the people I've asked as well. All right, so that's it, guys. I hope it was helpful. At least one of them was helpful to you. And I super appreciate you spending time with me today. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.